Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Rose. I'm a partner in EY's Climate Change and Sustainability Services team based here in Brisbane. I'm a specialist in greenhouse gas emissions modelling and sustainability, and I spend a fair bit of my time focused on both the agriculture and the resources sector. So I was definitely very interested to listen in on the last session, and hoping to have a really interesting discussion today. Before we begin, I would like to give my acknowledgement of the traditional owners of the lands on which we're gathered today, the Turrbal and Yagara people, and pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging. I would also like to acknowledge farmers as stewards of around 55% of Australia's land area, who also do have a key responsibility in terms of caring for and taking that stewardship of the lands that they operate their businesses on. With this role as stewards of such a large area of Australia, farmers have a real opportunity to engage with the focus on sustainability, and in fact, the nature of agricultural businesses mean that many of these organisations have for generations focused on how do we actually manage our land, our asset for the long term. And so the opportunities in this new age of thinking about issues such as loss of biodiversity, carbon sequestration, the move towards regenerative agriculture, soil carbon and the resilience that it can bring, renewable energy, water quality improvements. These all present opportunities for our farmers to participate in new and emerging markets, and importantly to drive productivity and potentially additional revenue streams for their businesses as well. This is a very high stakes game for our farmers as well, as our farmers are the people that really sit at the forefront of the impacts of climate change on their businesses. They experience those extreme weather events, the changes in our climate, in a very real and an economic way for them and their stakeholders. We do know that the agriculture sector, we think about Australia's agriculture sector in terms of these environmental assets that they can provide, but we do acknowledge that the sector does continue to produce greenhouse gas emissions in order to continue to provide that high quality food and fibre that we rely on as Australians, and support our high quality of living. However, improving the efficiency of production, understanding how we can act sustainably and in line with nature's requirements is really key to driving a sustainable agriculture sector for the long term. Globally, there's also a focus. So Australia is not alone in focusing on the agriculture sector in terms of the sustainability benefits and the carbon benefits that it can bring. We've seen a significant awareness of the potential role that the agriculture sector can play in sustainability over the past few years, particularly through things like the biodiversity and climate COPs, which have focused on many of those land sector opportunities in mitigating those twin crises of biodiversity loss and climate change. I think maybe just to wrap up my remarks, I think we can really think about those opportunities for the sector in some key buckets, I guess. The first one is many of these opportunities can create additional revenue streams for our farmers through diversification of on-farm income, through participation in markets, and providing the high quality produce that our markets are demanding. These actions result in healthier ecosystems, which can actually create positive productivity outcomes for our farmers as well. And finally, many of the activities that we're going to be talking about today actually create resilience in our agricultural communities, which is critically important as we look at the impacts of climate change and the potential uncertainties that creates for rural Australia as well. So, with those opening comments, I would like to hand over to my very distinguished panellists to share their thoughts and their perspectives on sustainable agriculture in Australia. First of all, I would like to hand over to now I've lost my Nick. Hand over to Nick, who is the the CEO of the Mini Farm Project. So the Mini Farm Project focuses on fighting hunger through the development of charity farms across Queensland. Nick, over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, I'm Nick from the Mini Farm Project. I founded this charity about 8 years ago, and the purpose of it is to ensure that people don't go hungry. And we have two issues at the moment in Australia. On one hand, we have this ever-increasing rate of food insecurity in a developed nation that should be unacceptable. And on the other hand, we have a group of people who want to do something about it, but don't know what vehicle to use. So we bring the two together through our model, which is building farms to feed people in need all year round for free. And let me just get that slide. This is what we do. This is our charity farm at Loganlea State High School. It's the second one in our network. Sanford was our first, and we've proven our model in market garden farms to give food every week to our charity partners to create meals or give us hampers. Loganlea now has been running for 1 year at the high school in the ag department. The students actually have an in-depth activity based around the farm. They work in the farm. They're there today, tomorrow and Friday. They help in all aspects, and they actually help build this farm. There are students actually in the photo in the background who are actually putting the farm together. So we're more than just a charity farm where we're growing food to feed people in need. We're building community. We're providing educational outcomes. We're also providing opportunities to employ the long-term unemployed on our farms, as well as reuse regenerative agricultural principles by developing the soil to produce the best quality plant. All of us here at the moment are nutrient deficient in some way because of the food system. People who are in a situation of survival are depleted. So I don't want to give them the gut putty from the packets and the cans. We actually want to give them nutrient-dense food. And this is one of the methodologies of actually doing that. And the reason why I'm running around and building all these farms and asking for money is in 2019, we were recording 1 in 5 individuals experiencing food insecurity. 2022, it was 1 in 5 households, with 2 million households experiencing severe food insecurity. And now in 2023, it's 3.7 million. That's an 85% increase in 12 months. There's obviously factors. Climate economics is the worst one. We've all felt it in Coles and Woolies when we've gone shopping. The price rises. People who have mortgages and paying rent are turning to charities because they can't buy food. There's a lot of single families, single parent families who are going to charities and begging on Facebook for food for their kids. And a lot of the kids actually at the high school are also in a situation of extreme need where they come down to the farm and ask for carrots because they've gone to bed without dinner and there's no breakfast for them as well. So we're trying to build a network of these farms quite quickly because there simply is not enough food. And in Australia, we have the ability to grow 3 times the amount of food for its population, but because food is a commodity, it's going to go to the highest bidder. So people who are in a situation of need don't get access to that, and we want to change that for food justice. Our solution, building a network of charity farms, and we're talking fruit, veg, fish, eggs, bush foods. We're looking at camel meat, anything that we can grow, that we can then farm, grow, harvest every week to give to our charity partners like Oz Harvest, Fair Share, local charities in each region for free so they can create the meals and give us hampers. So we're staying in our lane of production and to give. And then our charity partners that we connect in with, they make the meals and give as well. Obviously, Food Bank, Fair Share, Oz Harvest, and Second Bite are the biggest 4 players in the industry. We want to become one of the largest providers of free produce every week for charities exclusively. And we do that through employment, education, and building these farms. What we're seeking today and what we're looking at doing is actually funding these farms in a different, unique way. In the 2018 bushfires, we raised the most amount of money, I think, ever in Australia's history. That was 6 years ago. A lot of that money still hasn't been issued to people who are in a situation of need from those fires. The charity sector has an issue of mistrust with the Australian community, where people have a perception that charities aren't going to use the money or hand it over. What I want to do is actually break those narratives by providing different donation vehicles and products like our bed sponsorship program, where businesses can actually sponsor a bed for a year or for a month from $100 a month, which is tax deductible. What happens is if we sponsor all these beds, that actually funds the entire farm to operate for a year. They're the ones enabling us to grow the food. We become the facilitator and people get fed. We also sell coffee on our website. If we sell 20,000 kilo bags, we can actually fund a farm producing over 50,000 meals in 1 year, simply by people enjoying coffee. So instead of a charity coming along and going, give me money, give me money, give me money, we're looking at different ways of interfacing with the public to actually get the funding that we need to continue our farm network. So imagine, for example, we had farm networks from Coolangatta all the way up to Cairns, growing a variety of different products, using a variety of different growing methods, and a variety of different ag tech. We can actually spearhead a lot of the climate narratives, a lot of the food security narratives, and also disaster narratives by providing food continuously every single week. And the reason why we want to create a network is because if we have a targeted weather event in a particular region and those farms turn off for whatever reason, we can then move the food around our charity partners in the other farms. One of the really exciting things that I created from reviewing the 2018 donation event and some of the people in Australia being upset that the charities haven't passed the money on is something called our Giving Circle. It's the Join the Fight Against Hunger Challenge. And the idea is we want to mitigate mistrust with the public. So how do we do that? Our goal is to attract 100,000 people to donate $3.70 a month tax deductible to help us fund one farm every single month. And for that small $3.70, those donors get full financial transparency, knowing how much we raised. They get to vote which farm is built next, so they actually control what we do, and they know how much money we've spent. And then when we're set up, we want to allow those donors to actually be part of an online stream operations meeting where they can watch what we do. So we're providing full inclusion and interfacing differently by putting the donor in the center of our mission and breaking all that mistrust where they actually have some level of governance or interface or control in what our charity does, and they have oversight to know that we're actually spending their money properly, because it's very important to do that. We've got about 100 people at the moment. We're really pushing that this year because we've just had a cold start to that. So we're trying to change the way that individuals come to charities and be included in something. Imagine that you've become part of the Giving Circle and we've just created 5 farms, camel meat, fish farm, chicken farms. You can say, wow, I was actually part of that. We want to create something where a large population have actually created something completely tangible. It's like in the 80s where everyone seemed to be a lot happier than they are now. We had celebration of the nation. We had that Aussie spirit. I want to get back to that. We've had just COVID. A lot of people have mental health issues because of that, and now a lot of people are facing economic hardships as well. There's a lot of darkness around a lot of the people. Mental health is through the roof, suicides are through the roof, economic hardships is through the roof as well. So we're looking for a project of hope where we can unify a number of people to actually create something substantial to feed others, and that's going to be really, really important for us. What we're looking at obviously doing is seeking connections to networks of businesses to actually help partner with us, sponsor beds, create networks and opportunities. And one other thing that's actually not on here where I want to disrupt the charity space is we're actually looking for an investment vehicle over here, which is a separate entity where we're going to be buying businesses on finance and investment. And we're looking at some high players to actually give us money to support our charity. And what this entity over here does, the purpose of it is to get the profits from those businesses and funnel it into my wage first, because as a founder, I don't want the mini farm to pay for my wage, because when the Australian population donate, it should be going to the services, not to overheads. And yes, it's important for charities to have all these people in these jobs, but for me, it's important that I get my money elsewhere and give back to the community in a different way. So we're looking at building that at the moment. Is that it? Time up? Or do I have time left? Okay. So at the end of the day, the mini farm brings something completely different to the table in the realm of sustainability, food security, food systems, climate, and disaster management. And if you're looking for an opportunity to actually be part of something amazing, take my details on the things, send me a message and say you want to sponsor a bed or buy some coffee. Or if you can't, share it with people around as well. We also do volunteer opportunities, and I'm happy to take you all for a private tour of our farms as well, so you can see firsthand what we're doing, and also our roadmap for the next 6 farms that we want to build with Griffith University and the state government as well. My name is Nick Steiner. I'm the founder of the Mini Farm Project. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Nick. And there's a lot to unpack there. I think in terms of the key benefits that you've just highlighted, some of those are really around capacity building as well. So you touched a lot on some of those very tangible and physical outcomes, but obviously we're building the capacity of our school students to build the farms of the future that are sustainable. And so that's a really key element. And also fascinating exploration of the funding options that are available as well. So, I wonder, and maybe a conversation to take offline is the element of commercial finance as well, and how that could actually grow impact over time. On the subject of capacity building, I would love to hand over now to Kelly Walters from Regen Hubs and understand more about the organisation that you lead and some of the work that you do around building capacity in sustainable agricultural businesses.
Thank you, Liz. I'd actually like to start by saying I'm in, Nick.
I've got one. Who's next?
Amazing initiative. Hi everyone, my name is Kelly Walters, and I'm here today, like everyone on the panel, to provide some insight into how my colleagues and I are working to ensure sustainable farming practices become business as usual. We at Regen Hubs aim to shift the perception of regenerative agriculture away from a feel-good alternative way of growing food on small farms towards acceptance as the mainstream norm. Globally, as Liz mentioned, agriculture is in a period of significant transition, where ageing farmers are passing their land onto a new breed of conscious producer, and where consumer and regulatory pressures are converging to create demand for better ways of growing. Expert assistance to support the move from conventional to regenerative ag is sorely needed, and that's where we come in. 18 months ago, it was about that, wasn't it? Yeah. A series of conversations among some peers and associates who have worked for decades across a number of sectors, including agroecology, forestry, plant genetics, botany, biochemistry, and agriculture, seeded an idea. Why don't we collaborate to bring to the marketplace vetted and sustainable agricultural technologies with proven outcomes? The result is our company, Regen Hubs. Our business is underpinned by delivering improvements that benefit the biome as a whole through driving circularity, which we believe is looking for the highest use of materials ordinarily wasted, and producing both healthy, nutritious food and a replenished ecosystem. The key question from our customer base is how can we help them to shift to a more regenerative way of doing business? While there are many elements to consider in Regen Ag, my personal area of interest is soil, and my primary professional driver, resolving the global conundrum of the need to grow more food, as you've just highlighted, while soil is in decline. And while I'd love to give you an overview of all of the approaches, products and processes that we have available, enhancing soil health is what I will focus on today. The challenge we face is that farming without soil replenishment is mining. We incrementally remove nutrients from the ecosystem via harvesting of produce that we eat for our nutrition. The failure to adequately restock these nutrients prior to the next growing cycle creates a deficit, driving the downward spiral of soil health and creating a consumptive imbalance. It is almost universally acknowledged that we are pushing our soils to the brink. The industrialised view of soil as merely a medium to support plant growth is swiftly changing as a consequence. However, of no doubt are the impacts that this historical perspective has created. Some of these are already well known. For example, soil organic content, which is critical for supporting soil biology, has declined through volatilisation, oxidation and dehydration. The subsequent breaking down of humic structures in topsoil limits its capacity to retain and store moisture. Without soil moisture, we lose soil carbon. Over my lifetime, we have seen a reduction of nutrients in harvested produce as calorific content and cosmetic appearance have been prioritised over micronutrients. And we have witnessed an increase in ecosystem stresses and a loss of system resilience, resulting in fungal and pest incursion. The law of diminishing returns really applies here. Despite the addition of more and more external inputs, there has not been a commensurate improvement in output. Ultimately, halting the decline in soil biology through increasing bioavailable essential minerals and trace elements appears to be one of our key challenges, and we at Regen Hubs determined that we could address this through remineralisation. Current research suggests that 17 essential minerals and trace elements are all that is needed for optimal plant growth. I recently read a resource suggesting that if you add any more than these, you're wasting your money. We disagree, fundamentally, and assert that many more are needed, and often in nano quantities, not just for vegetative supply, but also to support balanced activity in soil biota. We remineralise soils through tailored solutions. Knowing that all soils are different, the remineralisation process begins with a baseline soil test that determines biochemical, physical and biological markers. Mineralised concentrate blends are adjusted then for deficiencies that we find, for crop type, for growing cycle length and any other relevant environmental factor. The picture that you see on screen shows the lighter coloured mineral mix added to the high quality compost that's ready for blending and land application. The bulk of this mineral mix is manufactured from quarry waste. When combined with composted organic residues, the circular nature of this solution becomes self-evident. Minimal virgin resources are required, and critically, the core ingredients can be sourced all over the world. While the key intellectual property here is Australian, the solution can be manufactured anywhere with locally sourced inputs. Cost savings are almost immediate. The correction of mineral imbalances in soil stabilises the biome, reducing those ecosystem stresses that I was talking about before, and therefore reducing and eventually eliminating the need for costly fungicides, pesticides and herbicides. Produce grown is of premium quality, commanding higher market prices. The response we see on screen now. Agricultural performance is generally measured in terms of productivity, and case studies from our customers certainly back this. Verified yield increases of 123% in sugarcane, 159% in ginger, and up to 246% in tomatoes have been easily achieved and often within the first growing cycle. Many other critical benefits have also been observed. For example, an improvement in the value of a farm's primary asset, its soil, through enhanced quality and structure. This is generally not considered. One intensive horticulture operation on the Sunshine Coast lifted soil carbon levels from 0.58% to 2.61% over 2 years and 6 growing cycles. We have seen the generation of high-quality, nutrient-dense produce, correcting the issue that you raised before. The photos on screen are from this same farm. Radishes and carrots are pest-free, uniform in size and quality, vibrant in colour, and 100% of the crops were harvested. There was no wastage due to pest or disease. Land preparation costs also decrease after only one application, partially due to less wear and tear on machinery, lower fuel requirements, and reduced labour costs. One criticism of these approaches typically is that they are only efficacious in small, intensive operations. The graph that you see on the screen helps to demonstrate the effectiveness of remineralisation at scale. I've just realised the colours are a bit wonky, so just have a look at the size of the marked difference in the two bar graphs. Biological soil diversity was tested 2 weeks after initial treatment and post-harvest. As you can see, the level of diversity was already markedly different in the mineralised compost plot as compared to the others just after the first treatment. And the microorganic biomass density, which consists of bacteria, actinomycetes, fungi, algae and protozoa, remained at 50% higher than alternative soil treatments. We're really impressed by this particular technology, and our farmers are too. What I've covered in this brief 8 minutes is really just the tip of the iceberg. At Regen Hubs, we are dedicated to bringing the very best regen ag approaches to market. We aim to help everybody. So please come and have a conversation or reach out on LinkedIn if you want to know more about what we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. That was amazing, and and just so critically important. I think one of the key things that we see is that healthy, biodiverse soil also holds onto moisture much better. So we have much lower application rates for irrigation and so forth, and therefore building resilience through uncertain weather events that we have in the agriculture sector as well. This is a really nice tie-in to Helen's presentation as well. So Helen is the CEO of Carbonate, which is an organisation that empowers Aussie farmers to embrace regenerative agriculture. Helen, over to you to share some insights.
Thank you, Liz. I'd also like to acknowledge our elders past, present and emerging. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but today is actually Valentine's Day. Did anyone remember? Hello? Anyone? Hands up. Did you remember? Well, as part of National Regenerative Agriculture Day, we're actually the founders of the National Regenerative Agriculture Day, and it's about farmers and foodies hijacking Valentine's Day. So it was pretty auspicious that Jeff sent me an email to say, would you like to be a speaker? So I'm very happy to be here today. So yesterday, an extraordinary thing happened to me, and it sort of turned my talk upside down. I met with a Bundjalung elder, Uncle Lewis Walker, and one of the projects that Carbonate's doing is called our Totem Project. And he shared with me some really extraordinary words, and I just wanted to share them with you this afternoon. So Uncle Louis is a Bundjalung elder, and these are his words. Jingala, hello. In the sunburnt expanses of Australia, every totem animal, from the bounding kangaroo to the wise turtle, carries an ancient connection to the land's health. When the creatures thrive, the soil is rich, the rivers flow pure, and the forests stand tall. Yet, when the land ails, so do these guardians. Our people, recognising this sacred bond, turn to the totem animals for guidance. Through stories and symbols, we learn the land's needs. Right now, more than ever, the land needs us to reconnect with nature. And that starts by understanding the totem of your land. So really powerful words. And I just wanted to share with you that Carbonate is all about working with farmers to transition them into regenerative agriculture. But it's more than just fixing the soil and removing the toxic chemicals from our food chain. For us, it is instead the story of how together we regenerate a country. So I'll just give a little bit of my story. Back in the drought of 2018, I live on a beautiful 3,000 acre farm with my fourth generation farmer. I'm a first generation farmer. And the drought had a terrible impact on our farming communities. And I remember going into a little town of Ashford, and there was a glass jar there that just really had written for the farmers. And Ashford is one of the lowest socioeconomic communities in Australia. And this glass jar was full of $50 notes. And I was really overcome with that statement because as a farmer myself and having been in the middle of a drought and seeing this desperate landscape, I also was aware that over $200 million of funds were raised, as Nick discussed, same with the fires. $200 million of funding was raised for farmers to support them. And most of the money, we're not sure where it went. Some of it went to bio-bale programs and food packages to farmers. And while emergency is important, Mike and I, my husband, a farmer, have been working in this sustainable agriculture space for over 20 years. And we felt like there was something more that we could do. We know so much about soil health, so much about soil biology and working with farmers. We've worked in Australia and in the Pacific Islands and Indonesia over a period of time. So we felt like, wow, we could do something different. We had a friend of ours who was an artist, so we decided that we could set up a day to create awareness around regenerative agriculture. And that started the National Regenerative Agriculture Day. And then we formed the charity Carbonate. So we've got clear pillars around how we work with farmers. We've got the work that we do is really significant. We have extraordinary philanthropic partners that we work with. Last year, we submitted our application with Schroders in the UK, and we were the global charity winners across 100 charities across the world. So Carbonate's doing some really cool stuff. One of the things that we are working in is that's really important to us is our community of practice. And the thing with working with farmers, just one moment, I'll just switch to the next. The thing that working with farmers is that one of the first things that farmers need to understand and work with is the change. What's the mindset change that they need to go through? What's going through their heads? What's needed? So Carbonate supports farmers in a beautiful community of practice where farmers come online and they're supported by mentors. And we go through all of the particular processes. We speak through the different main critical pieces on the farm that they could transition and help support them in this regenerative agriculture space. But one of the things that our emerging real project that we're working on is understanding biodiversity. Biodiversity is so important in our landscapes. And I just wanted to share with you some really, really disturbing sort of what's going on in our biodiversity space in Australia right now. So in Australia, we have the highest mammal extinctions globally, with more than 1,000 wildlife populations in Australia at risk and extinctions. Australia is also second for biodiversity after Indonesia globally. Among the 82 Australian animals on the critically endangered lists are our koala, our platypus and hairy-nosed wombat. And as Liz mentioned, Australians are stewards of over 55% of our landmass. So farmers have an extraordinary capacity to really change what's happening in the landscape with our little critters. So one of the things in our community of practice is that we want to really foster is what we're calling our Carbonate Totem Project. Now, this is really cool because the thing about regenerative agriculture, for a city person, it's pretty hard to really grapple with and understand what it is. But everyone always loves their animals. Everyone feels like it's a really important understanding of animals. Everyone loves animals. So we felt like what would be extraordinary, and this is the work that we've been doing with some of our Indigenous elders and our grandmothers, is that if we partner with Australian organisations, and each within the organisations, they can learn what their totem is for their area. So we've got a really cool project happening with one of our organisations, our philanthropic organisations, where they're determining what the totem animal is for their area. We've got 800 stores, and each of those stores are looking to find out what their totem animal is and understand what the cultural story of that animal is and what is the thing that is needed to protect these animals. And so from a farmer perspective, farmers are the ones we can co-design the particular techniques that a farmer can do on their place to protect the animal. So for example, the platypus. So what does a platypus need? The platypus needs clear flowing water. So what does that mean from a farmer perspective? multi-species crops, which keeps the land covered. So that when it does rain, and for every 1% carbon in the soil, on one rainfall event, we can actually retain 155,000 litres of water. So these practices that we put in place, protecting the waterways, we can specifically say, my totem animal on my land is a platypus, and this is what I'm doing to protect the animals. And it means that everyone can get involved. So you don't just have to be a farmer. You can actually do a research where you are on your place and help support farmers working together as part of our what we call our corporate giving program. So in terms of our totem project, we feel like this can open up, every person can actually understand and get to know regenerative agriculture in a different lens. So as I mentioned, we have our community of practice. So farmers are mentored, and we speak through a number of different main themes. Carbon, obviously very important, which I spoke about. Water holding capacity, nutrient density in food, how important that is, and our biodiversity, as well as carbon markets. How do farmers go through getting into the carbon markets, and the future of biodiversity credits as well? These are emerging markets. What's going on with scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions? All of these really difficult things that it's hard to grapple with, but we help support our farmers in this space. And again, it comes back to farmers leaving their legacy. So them understanding, what's my plan? What's needed? What's going to happen if a drought comes, what do I need to do? So if, for example, there's a big flooding event in your house, you don't go and run out and pull all the leaves out then, do you? You have to go plan a flood event. So it's the same with farming. You actually need to have a plan in place to make sure that your farm is functioning well from a regenerative perspective. So our Custodians of Agriculture corporate giving program, this is where we get corporates involved in our program. We have a bespoke corporate giving program that provides really awesome engagement with your team and employees, and become values aligned, so that your organisations can think about something bigger than just what's going on right now. And this is what Carbonate offers as well. So I'm out of time, but I'd just like to say again, thank you, Boogle Bear, and it's been really wonderful speaking to you and sharing everything that we're doing. And please come to our Carbonate stall and have a chat to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helen. I really loved hearing about not just the outcomes for farmers in terms of healthy, high-value produce, but also the other environmental and social benefits associated with those activities as well. So really, really amazing. I'd love to spend longer diving into it. But we're going to change tack a little bit, and I'm going to hand over to Keith Mason, who's the CEO of EnviroLite Asia Pacific, with a focus on water quality technologies and the critical role that the agriculture sector can play in terms of delivering clean water back to the environment.
Yeah, as Liz has just suggested, my name's Keith Mason. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I still feel like I'm at the beginning of the journey. What I'm going to present today isn't outrageous or an expose or radical disruption. It's been around for over 100 years, but it's not utilised to its best extent. And we have some good friendly rivalry here in that some of the methods expressed down there are a little bit contradictory philosophy-wise, but I think we can all work together and achieve the outcome. To start off with, can you just repeat that? Yep. To start off with, I'd just like to acknowledge Dr. Sukhvinder S.P. Singh from the DPI in New South Wales, who created these first two slides. On this first slide, perhaps I hope that's contrast enough that you can read on there. The average farmer that I approach, walking down his crops there with his head down, has got all those little clouds to consider there, and as you can see, he's got a lot of things on his mind. The only thing that's missing from there is his consideration for his water source and the benefits. It contains essential nutrients and minerals in its raw state, whatever its source. So he might have their bore water, he might have a farm dam, he might have collected rainwater, he might have river water, or he might be even using municipal water. All of them contain some contaminants. Okay, but by treating it, he can take the beneficial aspects of it and utilise them to advantage. Water has significant beneficial properties, which we're driven to remove. So we have this water available, and the first thing we want to do is to purify it by some means and take out all the beneficial minerals and nutrients that are in there, and then we are encouraged to replenish them by purchasing minerals and nutrients, growth promoters, etc., to reconstitute that water. So we've taken out nature's God-given growth promoters, and we take them all out, and then we're going to pay to reconstitute them. This is quite common. Industrial evolution has encouraged us to remove these to purify this water using one treatment to counter the residual from the previous treatment. So we get into this cycle of introducing chemicals and they're just accumulating. One of the things, nitrogen, as we all know, it runs off and it goes out to the reef and it's destroying the reef. Whereas that nitrogen is critical, and as you know, people are applying urea onto their property to provide that nitrogen. In actual fact, we are discharging it into the river and out to waste. So we can retain that and reuse it. Industry driven by researchers pursuing regulation, compliance for both production and food safety. This is one of the things that farmer's got on his mind there. He's going to have to comply, and I think it's in the next year, he's going to have to test his water, and it's got to have reached certain parameters, otherwise he can't use it, because that water is providing a lot of the components that enhance his production and growth, and also food safety. But my belief is that rather than regulate or make people comply with it, education is the key to providing these farmers with the knowledge that water can provide him with all of the things that he needs. Right. Pre-harvest or production. Pre-harvest or production side root cause of lower quality and quantity of crops is due to contamination. Okay, sometimes introduced by that water. So it's preferable to prevent that contamination during the production phase rather than trying to remove it post-harvest or processing remediation. This resembles silk purse from a sow's purse ear thinking, and always results in degradation of quality and nutritional value and affects optimum shelf life. This approach, usually using available technology, could solve 60% of those contemplated issues. Okay? Sorry if I have to refer to these notes, otherwise I'll go off track. Right, so, that one down there. Slide 2. Slide. Right. It is acknowledged that all available water sources are contaminated to some degree, be it municipal, river, dam, or collected rainwater, or artesian water. It's not always a shortage that's a problem, a shortage of water, but often alternative sources. So, you know, a lot of farmers, producers, big or small, they alternate between those various water sources. They're affected either microbiologically with pathogens or chemically. Residue from soil amendments, pesticides, fungicides, etc., and now microplastics and phthalates. So all of those things we know are in the water, and we're introducing more chemicals to try and ameliorate those, and that's causing more, you know, it's a vicious cycle, it's just causing more and more. Also, pathogen challenges like viruses, bacteria, spores, cysts, funguses, moulds are all introduced via wildlife vectors or climatic conditions. So they're going to come in there, even if we're the best, cleanest farmers and we're the most efficient farmers, those things are going to come in. And if we have a look at that picture there, you can see how the agricultural and soil amendments are being wind blown and introduced by animals moving from their introduction and then into the field, into the broader crops, and then also into the pack houses. And there we've got wind, dust storms, pests, machinery and equipment and workers all cross-contaminating produce that may have been slightly contaminated in the first instance, but we've actually made it worse. We've actually contributed more to it. Currently, we distribute all these chemical residues and microbiological things. We distribute them very efficiently through water, air, and on personnel on machinery. Additional to this is the introduction through poor biosecurity, generally transferred from property to property or cross-contamination within the actual premises. Okay, so with this technology that I'm going to introduce you to, in 2020, a farmer here locally in Queensland won the National Biosecurity Award by using this technology, and they were washing vehicles coming onto the property and people's boots, and just generally using this technology, utilising the water from their property to provide biosecurity to the point where they won this national award. Unfortunately, it was never publicised or anything. They went. It was during the beginning of COVID, I think. So they went to Melbourne and received this big prize and all the accolades and everything, but it was never disseminated or advised to other people that this is what they could achieve using this technology, which is pretty disappointing because it appears a lot of these awards are just there for the the glorification or the pride of the people that are getting the awards, rather than contributing to the overall benefit of the industry. Right, change the slide. Sorry. Right. So this is depicting our solution, already operating widely and resolving a large number of issues pondered in slide 1. Take a small quantity of water from your existing available primary water source on site. In this case, depicted is a machine that produces 600 litres per hour of nature's finest, strongest, most efficient sanitiser disinfectant. This technology turns that water into natural, safe and efficient sanitiser which can treat seeds and activates germination, general efficient production, enhances bioimmunity, acts as a biocide, fungicide, general hygiene, provides quality assurance. This is all achieved after automated monitored production parameters, which are achieved by that machine and can be dispersed widely across any process by means of washing, fogging, vaporising to any environment. Analyte can be dosed as little as half a litre into 1,000 litres of your main water flow without having to process the entire flow. This creates WHO drinking water quality, thus retaining all beneficial minerals and nutrients in the raw water. At the same time, the oxidant reduces all spoilage, microbes and residual chemicals. ANK pH neutral analyte is certified organic and meets all other compliances certifications for all One Health industries. Can we just have a quick look at the last one, and then that's... Here I've got a whole range of scientifically published documents, peer-reviewed, of a diverse range of applications for this water. Okay, it's used in medicine, it's used in agriculture, it's used in big industry where hygiene and cross-contamination is a problem. There is 217 of these publications between 2020 and 2023. This was reviewed and researched by PhD students at University of Tasmania. Altogether, on the internet, on the likes of PubMed and PubAg, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of these published documents, research papers, but no one actually looks at them and institutes the things that they can do for them. So I didn't particularly want you to read that. It's just an example. There's 5 diverse applications there, all from the one technology. Okay.
Thanks so much, Keith. Really interesting to hear about how we're, the management of water on farm and the critical importance for mitigating those environmental impacts off farm, such as for our Great Barrier Reef. Our final speaker for today is Andrew Chamberlain from Lime Branch, so one of the directors of Lime Branch, which is a specialist sustainability consultancy, again supporting the agricultural industry in terms of understanding sustainability-related issues and driving productivity improvements. Over to you, Andrew.
There we go. Thank you very much, Liz, and thank you to the previous speakers. Hi everyone, my name's Andrew Chamberlain and I provide decarbonisation and sustainability advice and strategy to business through my company Lime Branch, which is a B Corporation. I'm doing a lot of my work at the moment at Queensland Farmers Federation. I contract to them to manage a range of energy programs, and over the last 8 to 9 years we've done around 350 energy audits on different farms across the state, and also work with Business Chamber Queensland on the EcoBiz program. So as well as working with a lot of farms, I also get to go to a lot of businesses around Queensland too and talk to them about energy efficiency, waste efficiency, and getting them started on a sustainability journey. And I have to say, it's really what gets me going. I really love being able to do that with those, do those farm visits and those business visits all the time. So we've heard a range of presentations about sustainable agriculture, regenerative ag, water. So I thought, based on the work I've done with QFF, I'd round it off with a bit of talk about sustainable energy and agriculture as well. And as the producer of the Red Tip Eco Bananas, I'm sure all my panellists would agree with me, the producer of the Red Tip Eco Bananas in Innisfail said to me, energy efficiency begins in the soil. So agriculture has a major role to play in the energy transition. Farms are big energy users, with electricity and particularly diesel being the most significant. Having said that, the emissions footprint for farms is around 13% in Queensland, and a small proportion of that is the energy-related emissions. So most of the emissions are from the land use-based activities. Farms are also energy suppliers, both kilowatt hours and megajoules, but also calories. And we're going to be asking them to produce a lot more calories over the next year as our population increases, next years as our population increases. Also, agricultural land is doing a lot of heavy lifting as far as the move to renewable energy, with hosting renewable energy developments and associated infrastructure. And farms are doing a lot of work on energy efficiency and decarbonisation and renewable energy for their own operations as well. So farms are doing a lot to become sustainable. And you might have heard of things like the meat industry's climate carbon neutral by 2030 goal. Energy and agriculture is changing fast. There's massive improvements in technologies for some of the fundamental functions of farming, like pumping, irrigation, cooling and heating. There's moved to more controlled environments, such as controlled greenhouses in nursery and horticulture, and even to vertical farming. Those kind of technologies are increasing. And also remote real-time monitoring. So use of sensors on farms for everything from soil moisture, sap flow, energy, and those kind of things can be monitored in real time on farms. But also at the satellite level, you can check on your net primary productivity daily using satellite feeds. So huge change in the information available to help farmers manage. And also the growth in renewable energy and storage technologies to generate and store energy on farm, and also to go beyond the farm gate, looking at becoming producers of things like hydrogen and bioenergy and biomass and those kind of things. Challenges impacting the use and generation of electricity on farms. Climate change, of course, leading to changes in water availability, changes in growing seasons, and more extreme events. So they all impact energy consumption and energy use on farm. Price squeeze, so farmers are caught between rising input costs like energy, water, labour, and also at the other end, the cost of living pressures felt by consumers. And you can see that at the moment with the inquiry that's about to start around food pricing. We import a lot. So, for example, try finding pork or bacon that's produced in Australia. It's not easy to do. It can be done. Like a lot of the supermarkets do keep it, but a lot of the products that you immediately go to in your supermarket will be mainly imported. Same with flours. A lot of flours are imported because of our particular taste. So that they're all things that impact the farm, and also the need to add renewable energy. So a good starting point for farms when considering sustainable energy is, first understanding your energy consumption, looking at the patterns, understanding when you use it, what demand, and what are the appliances that use most energy. It's interesting working with chicken farmers, for example. I saw a presentation from a chicken farmer that found that it's actually the smallest motors on the farm that cause them the big demand spikes because there are so many of them, but often they're not even looked at because they tend to be the smallest. So think about energy and water efficiency at the same time. It's often people think about the energy consumption or the water efficiency and not think about the two, and we call that the energy water nexus. And so in an irrigation context, that's about putting the right amount of water on the crop at the right time, and then doing that as efficiently as possible. Energy consumption translates easily into greenhouse emissions, so it's a good way for farms to start to get their heads around their emissions profile. And energy efficiencies are emissions reduction strategies. Energy and water efficiency initiatives also go hand in hand with waste efficiency, so it all sort of works together. So it's important to note also that a lot of other benefits that go beyond the energy bill, and the work that we've done with farms, we try to highlight that. So increased productivity, product quality, time savings and those kind of things. And I'll just give a couple of quick examples from some of the audits and outcomes we've done through Queensland Farmers Federation. So a Brisbane landscape nursery added evacuated tube solar collectors to a large electric storage hot water system they had. They replaced a large old pump with a smaller variable speed drive pump and added lighting controls. They recovered their investments in 12 months, bringing their electricity consumption below the large user threshold, which is 100,000 megawatt hours a year, so they saved a fortune in energy, getting that money back in 12 months. But the best outcome for them as a landscape nursery was their clients are property developers who like to landscape new developments with trees and shrubs all the same size. And because their water was now controlled by a variable speed drive where they could manage the pressure, all the plants were getting the same water, so they're all the same size, and it saved them a lot of time in shifting plants around to find the water to help them to grow evenly, because they all just grew evenly because they're all getting the same amount of water. Similarly, a North Queensland banana farm added a variable speed drive to a large dam pump. They were irrigating 10 different blocks from that pump on 10 different size blocks on a very hilly North Queensland farm. So the pump was pretty much running 24/7 to circulate water around those blocks. They achieved a 40% electricity bill saving with the variable speed drive and reduced their water consumption. Part of that saving was as a tariff change, because as they looked at their bills as part of that audit, they realised they were on the wrong tariff. And as well as cutting their water use, so they now know exactly how much water goes on each block, so they can better manage the water efficiency of those blocks. A Warwick piggery reduced grid power through LED lighting, fan efficiency and solar PV. So now they're going to change, they put a little bit a larger PV system, so now their next project is to switch over their gas heating system to heat pumps, which will save them a lot more energy and also decarbonise their energy. But the real benefit there is the heat pumps, because they heat to a delta T rather than a strong heat that the gas hot water system provides. They won't go through a lot of hot water systems because of the hard water at the site. So they're actually throwing out hot water systems every 12 to 18 months because of the hard water at the site. Another piggery installed real-time monitoring to compare the energy savings in 2 sheds, which were identical, except one of them they'd recently upgraded to the latest EC variable speed fans, and the one next door that was exactly the same had the old the old belt-driven fans. The real-time monitoring proved to them that the new fans were actually using 75% less energy, so they were able to go ahead and upgrade in the same to the same fans for the new shed. So it gave them that evidence. And lastly, a North Queensland hay farm. This is one of my favourite ones because it was a lady who runs the farm herself while her husband goes and does FIFO work. They already had invested in 2 fairly efficient irrigators. They had a lateral and a centre pivot irrigating different parts of the farm. The addition of a variable speed drive and some solar panels cut their energy consumption significantly, and also their water consumption. But bringing that new technology onto the farm meant that during the times her husband was away on FIFO trips, she didn't have to get her daughter up in the middle of the night to drive her down the road to turn the pump on and off in the middle of the night down at the pump shed. So they've saved a fortune in energy and water, but they've also got that really nice family benefit at the same time. So the key messages that we try and leave with farms, here we go. And we just heard this in the textile supply chain story session upstairs. It's just to make a start. You don't have to start by putting a large solar panel system in. You don't have to start by spending $100,000 on VSDs for all your pumps. You can start by having a look at your bills more often, understanding your energy profile. And it's not just applies to farms, by the way, any businesses out there. Look at areas where energy consumption and demand can be reduced, develop a plan to reduce consumption and demand, and then decarbonise energy consumption through the addition of renewables. Consider some of those other benefits like productivity, even family time, and as well as the energy bill savings. And talk to your colleagues. A lot of our farms have benefited from collaborating with colleagues and talking to other farmers. Once they're aware of what new technology is available, it becomes easy because they've got a colleague or another farmer in their grower group that's just bought a VSD or solar panels or done something and are able to help them. So I'll just finish with a couple of quick plugs, if that's okay. I'm able to get out. We've got an energy audit program at the moment. I'm actually able to get out and do a really detailed independent audit of a couple of large energy user farms in Queensland. So if anyone is a farmer or knows a farmer that would be interested in doing that, I can. And also there's 2 rebate schemes available at the moment for energy efficiency upgrades. One of them's run by the Queensland government and the other one has just come out from the Commonwealth government. And they're very generous. One of them's up to $25,000 at 100% funding. So if you would like to, that's my email address, and that QR code will go direct to my LinkedIn page. If you just send me a message on that, I'll be happy to pass on information about those couple of programs. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So interesting to hear about the role that really good measurement of consumption of commodities can give in terms of productivity benefits and also flow-on benefits from a sustainability perspective as well. So with that, we have gone a little bit over time. Thank you so much to all of our panellists today for providing their perspectives on sustainable agriculture, and really appreciate your time for preparing and the insights that you've delivered for everyone. Thank you.